Hello, everyone, and welcome to this overview video about global leadership in Thailand, a study abroad trip happening in Chiang Mai and Phuket, Thailand, summer 2021. My name is Dr. Oliver Crocco. I go by Ozzy, and I'm joined here by my co-faculty member in the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development, Dr. Edward Gibbons, who goes by Eddie. And we are leading this trip this summer. So, Eddie, would you give us a little bit of a background about yourself before we get going?
Sure. My name is Eddie Gibbons. I'm an assistant professor of professional practice in the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development. I'm the undergraduate program coordinator for the school. I'm also, for 2021, I'm the program director for the study abroad trip.
Yes, and as I mentioned, my name is Dr. Oliver Crocco. I go by Ozzy, and I'm an assistant professor in the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development, along with Eddie. And I was the program director when we offered this course last year. And actually, I lived and worked in Thailand for 4 years before coming to LSU. So, and my wife is Thai, actually, and my son is half Thai. So I've always felt a strong connection with Thailand, and I'm so excited that we're going to be able to share it with you all this summer 2021 in Thailand. So I'm going to show you some pictures of our last trip while Dr. Gibbons reads a little bit about what this program is all about.
So as cultures and economies are increasingly interconnected, the presence of globalization is visible in nearly every aspect of our lives. Global workforce mobility has led to workplaces around the globe becoming more diverse, with people bringing their various worldviews and identities to work. Organizations are also increasingly interacting with stakeholders from multiple cultural backgrounds and international contexts. Still, much of the workforce is not competent enough to work in a globalized and cross-cultural environment. There's a lack of global leadership in many organizations today. Preparing students and professionals in every industry to become global leaders who can face global challenges in today's organizations requires specialized training and focus on global leadership development. It is incumbent on leaders and human resource development professionals, whether in higher education, organizations, or communities, to enable and empower others to think at a global level and use their knowledge and skills to address the global challenges they face.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Dr. Gibbons. And as you see, these pictures are from our trip last time, but this year we are also planning to spend 2 weeks, which is half of our time, in the island city of Phuket, Thailand, which many of you may have heard of. It's famous as the site of several James Bond movies and other TV shows. It is a gorgeous place to live and learn. And it's one where we hope that we will be able to dive into these high quality courses. So as part of the program, you're going to have the option to pick 2 of these 4 courses to study while you're there in Thailand. Dr. Gibbons, would you mind telling us a little bit about the first 2 course offerings?
Sure. So let me provide some context first. For students pursuing the leadership development minor, that is 4 classes plus an elective. The first 2 classes that you would take in the leadership development minor are LHRD 2723 and 3723. Now, typically you would take this over the course of an entire semester. So the advantage here by taking these classes, you're going to take them in a 4-week time span. So you're essentially going to knock out a semester or 2 semesters worth of work inside of 4 weeks. That's a huge advantage, and you're doing it in a beautiful location. LHRD 2723 focuses on leadership of the self. You can't lead others unless you can lead yourself first. So what we focus there in that class is personal strengths and weaknesses, unearthing and identifying what they are, and then identifying plans around how to address them. 3723 focuses on leading others. And in that course, we focus on various leadership tactics and traits, such as transactional leadership versus democratic leadership, autocratic leadership, etc. And the format of the courses, they're not going to be lecture based, they're going to be discussion based. We also have a series of activities while we're in both Chiang Mai and Phuket that drive home the messages that we're trying to get across in those classes.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Gibbons. And for example, if you've already taken LHRD 2723 with Eddie, you could then take 3723 and, for example, 4901, which is global leadership. These second two courses are upper level and or grad level courses. So even if you're a grad student, you are still welcome on this program. You can take those latter two courses. 4901 Global Leadership is all about what it takes to live and work effectively in cross-cultural and multicultural organizational contexts. So, how do you communicate effectively with someone from a different culture? How do you organize your work? You know, we're going to be looking at a variety of different types of organizations, from not-for-profit, business context, educational context, government context. So we're going to be talking about what it means to lead effectively in those cross-cultural global environments. In 4809, this is an independent study course. So this will be a chance where you will do is you will work with us to develop a plan for the 4 weeks that we're in Thailand to investigate thoroughly an area of interest to you. So for example, say you're interested in leadership and anti-human trafficking. What I will do is, because I lived in Thailand for 4 years and have many connections and friends throughout the country, what I'll do is when we're in Chiang Mai, for example, we will visit organizations that have to do with anti-human trafficking. Perhaps you can even do an internship for several days there. And then you will write reflection on what it means to lead an organization like that. What are some of the complex challenges associated with that? Or for example, say you were interested in coaching or you were interested in business. What we would do is find some other ways that we could engage you in those topics in a leadership context in Thailand. So, and we would have reflection and we would have other types of deliverables. If you wanted to do research, we would have a research paper. So for example, if you wanted to do a research on women leadership in Thailand, I could work with you. I could set up a series of interviews with women leaders in organizations in Thailand, which would culminate in you writing a paper or even something more creative like creating a video or some other type of final product. So you have options. You can pick 2 of these courses for our 4-week study in Thailand. Eddie, do you mind talking to us a little bit about the schedule?
So our trip will last roughly a month. We'll depart from the United States on May 15th. We're going to do some traveling while we're in Thailand. So we'll spend 2 weeks in Chiang Mai from the 17th to the 28th of May. And then that weekend, May 29th, we will then travel to Phuket. We'll stay there for another 2 weeks and then depart Thailand on June 12th.
And for those of you who don't know, Chiang Mai, Thailand is in the north mountainous region of Thailand. So this picture that you're looking at right now is actually a picture from Chiang Mai, from the mountain that we will all be hiking together as part of the trip. And then, as we already mentioned, Phuket, Thailand is one of the islands in the south on the Andaman coast of Thailand. And with some uncertainty about COVID and traveling, we have an alternate set of dates as sort of a contingency plan if we need to push back our trip a little bit. Thankfully, there has been a lot of progress with both testing and vaccines this fall. So we are really optimistic that this course will work, but there is a small chance that we'll need to push it back from the original May departure. If that is the case, we plan to leave on July 10th, spend 2 weeks in Chiang Mai, and then 2 weeks in Phuket. And we will depart Thailand on August 7th, which gives you a solid 2 weeks before classes start again in the fall semester. Some of the activities that we'll be doing, as we already mentioned, we will be visiting several organizations, a whole array of organizations throughout in both Chiang Mai and Phuket. We will be doing some Thai language lessons so you can feel confident to order, ask for the restroom and do other things in Thai. Keep in mind that the vast majority of Thai people can speak English, but it is an important part of your leadership development to learn to speak Thai and understand the role of language and culture in leadership. We'll be hiking up Doi Suthep Mountain. We will have 1 day of excursion to a Thai waterfall. We will do a meditation workshop and monk chat to understand what it means to be a mindful leader. And we will even do a cross-cultural leadership workshop with Thai university students.
So last year, a huge hit was the Thai cooking school. We intend to do that again this year. We had the opportunity to visit various history museums, Thailand history museums. For classes, when we go to Phuket, which is the last 2 weeks of the trip, certainly the 27-23 and 37-23 classes are going to be on the beach. When we're in Chiang Mai, it'll vary. It depends on the activity that we're doing that day. Sometimes we'll host a class while we're in the hotel in Chiang Mai. Sometimes we'll do it on site with the organizations that we're working with. Also in 27-23, we will teach you peer coaching. So as I said earlier, a big push in that class is to have the student identify their strengths and weaknesses. And then you also have to develop the ability to provide feedback to each other. So that's the peer coaching activity. And then we're also going to do a 3-island boat tour. And if you want, you'll have the opportunity to go snorkeling when we do that.
There are a series of other optional activities that you can do throughout the time in Thailand. We will only be having class in the morning and the afternoon most days. So that means your evenings and also your weekends will be free. This means you can do things like, for example, go to the walking streets, which are large open air markets. You can go to the Elephant Nature Park, which is an ethical elephant care center where you can bathe the elephants and take care of them and learn about elephant preservation. There's an ultimate frisbee club in Chiang Mai. There is zip lining, Muay Thai boxing, which is Thai boxing, is also available as an option. There's Thai cabaret dancing. There's a 3D art museum, art gallery. There's even a church and a mosque. So whatever your particular religious tradition, if you have one, there's Catholic churches, Orthodox churches, Protestant churches, there's mosques, there is a synagogue. We can help to make sure that you feel supported while you're there.
So program fee and housing. I think the first thing I want to point out is amongst the 13 or so study abroad courses that LSU is currently offering, we are the cheapest, with the exception of one, which is in DC. But as far as the abroad courses, the Thailand trip through LHRD is the least expensive. So the program fee, which is not the entire cost, but the program fee is $2,600. It covers housing while you're in Thailand, both in Chiang Mai and Phuket. It will cover breakfast and lunch, so your meals, not dinner. It will cover transportation to any organization that we're visiting, the waterfall, any class that we have to attend, it takes care of that. And also health insurance as well.
Yeah, and just keep in mind that Thailand is a relatively inexpensive country. So even meals are not very expensive. For example, in Chiang Mai, you can get a big plate of food and a drink and a dessert for about $3. So don't think that, eating out dinner is going to cost you $10 or $15, not even close.
There were some students last year who walked around with it was about 30 US dollars per week is what they spent on food for an entire week. So
yeah, I think that's very typical. The additional costs for this program are tuition for the 6 credits that you take, airfare to and from Thailand, and any additional spending money that you will require. We decided to have airfare be separate from the program fee because many of you, for example, use airline miles to pay for flights, or you have vouchers, or some of you may that summer be traveling elsewhere with family and won't be directly coming from Baton Rouge. If we were to book a group flight from Baton Rouge, that could be an inconvenience for many of you who don't live in Baton Rouge and would have to first travel to Baton Rouge and then leave together from Baton Rouge. That said, Eddie and I will do everything we can to support you and get your flight. And what we did last year is we had several groups of students, so we were able to sort of coordinate. So several groups sort of like left together and returned together. So no one was flying alone.
And to add to that, there were a number of students that flew with me the first time we went over there. So if you're not comfortable flying by yourself, that's completely fine. We can figure out a way to link up if you wanted to jump on an airplane with either myself or Dr. Krako.
Yeah, I think last year people met in Houston, for example. There was a group of people who met in Houston and flew over together from Houston. So I think that's definitely an option. With regard to spending money, I think like as Dr. Gibbons said, as Eddie said, by the way, on this trip, normally we go by Dr. Krako and Dr. Gibbons, but the great thing about studying abroad is you really get to that close-knit group with your faculty members and your other students. So we're going to have a WhatsApp chat group going, and you can call us Ozzy and Eddie during that time. So spending money, you can live off of as little as 1,000 baht, which is 30 US dollars per week. You may probably will want more to be able to do some extra activities in the evenings, to buy souvenirs for family and friends, other things, but you won't need a lot of extra money. So even though we're going to be there for a month, we're going to be, for example, the beach will be free. So if in the evening you want to go down to the beach and just grab dinner with friends in the course, that can be your evening activity. You don't need to do anything expensive. But most museums and things are relatively cheap. In Chiang Mai, our museum entrance fee was around 90 baht, which is about $3. If you are interested at all, or if you have any questions, or if your parents are watching this and they also have questions, please email us. I've included both of our emails here, and we would love to hear from you. We can also connect you with some of the students who attended our trip last year. We had rave reviews. We had a wonderful time. It was a great learning experience for everyone. And obviously, Eddie and I liked it so much that we want to do it again this summer with all of you. So if you're interested, please get in touch, and we look forward to hearing from you.